Welcome back to Challenges of Faith. I'm Gary McCants, and thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. Challenges of Faith is a Christian ministry program designed to build up the believer who is a part of the body of Christ, uplifting from the perspective of providing spiritual and educational information to and for you. Informational knowledge that is spiritually and biblically sound, factual, and we hope sometimes humorous. Tonight we have a guest I'm looking forward to fellowshipping with, talking with. You'll hear from her in the future on Challenges of Faith. Her name is Katie Jones, a Proverbs 31 woman. But wait a minute. Did I hear or read this right? Katie Jones is a woman who strives daily to be a Proverbs 31 woman. And the question for believers of the household of faith is, do you know what a Proverbs 31 woman is? How many men of God that's in a right relationship with God are and have been searching and or praying for such a woman as Katie Jones? I know some men and I know some ladies, but Proverbs 31 is said to be Solomon's mom to her beloved son, her nickname for him, the sayings of King Lemuel. The sayings of King Lemuel, an inspired utterance his mother taught him. Listen, my son, listen, son of my womb. Listen, my son, the answer to my prayers. Do not spend your strength on women, your vigor on those who ruin kings. It is not for kings, Lemuel. It is not for kings to drink wine, not for the rulers to crave beer, lest they drink and forget what has been decreed, and deprived all the oppressed of their rights. Let beer be for those who are perishing, wine for those who are in anguish. Let them drink and forget their poverty and remember their misery no more. Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor and the needy. We're going to stop there because now it's time to introduce Katie. But men, is there a Proverbs 31 woman in your life? And why not? Katie, welcome to Challenges of Faith.
Hi, thank you for having me on
All
your
right.
show tonight.
Hey, it's an honor to have you. First and foremost, how are you, your daughter, and loved ones?
We are well. It's been a blessed Sunday today. God has actually revealed a lot to me before the year end, and I'm just ready to see what 2020 is gonna, bring.
Mm-hmm. Well, whatever it brings, hey, just go with it, knowing that God is in control, and have fun and just laugh. Hey, Katie, let's take a walk down memory lane, shall we? You attended and obtained your BS degree from what university, and what was your field of study and why?
I completed my Bachelor's of Science degree in 3 years from Alabama State University in Montgomery, Alabama in December of 2012. I majored in criminal justice because I wanted to make a difference. I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana, which used to be called the murder capital of the world. So I felt in order to deter crime, you must understand who, what, where, when, why, and how crime and how the criminal justice system operates.
Excuse me, everything you just said, I believe it all encompasses some form of relationship. And a lot of times people may not understand that, but just think about what you just said. You talked about where you originally came from, you talked about the crime that occurred in the city. You talked about the fact that what it's been designated as relates to the system through the news media and the crime statistics, it's generated from local law enforcement, as you know. It comes out and it compares states with other states and cities with other cities, and then therefore you have that number. But those numbers are equated to real people, as we know, real people who are affected by crime. And in this particular case, we're talking about taking the life of somebody else, a relationship that turned bad, or whatever the case was the reason. And then you talked about the fact of entering school and the reasons for the topic. And those factual reasons are what we should be looking at no matter what the topic happens to be, because again, I simply believe everything we do, irrespective of what it happens to be, involves some form of relationship. Katie, you decided to pursue your master's degree. What university and field of studies and why?
Well, while attending Alabama State University, I followed in my mother's footsteps and became a CNA. Most people look down on CNAs, but they play a vital role in the healthcare field. I completed that certification in 2010 so I could pay for college and pay for my rent because I had limited family support during undergrad. I worked and attended school full-time year-round. And after not being able to get a job in the criminal justice field because I lacked the experience, I just continued working as a CNA. And I decided in 2016 to go back to school to Faulkner University. And that's where I graduated from in May of 2017 with my master's in justice administration. I basically wanted to understand how the criminal justice administration was ran. I felt that leadership was one of the most important aspects of any, criminal justice institution. And I also felt I had what it took to change the many issues which plague the justice system.
And as God leads you, you're welcome to share. One of the things I enjoy about you is the down-to-earth part of it. And just listen to what you're saying. Everything still involves some form of relationship. Started off, and a lot of times that's what we do as humans, irrespective of our race, our culture, our age, our gender, our zip code. We start off in life, hoping that we had loving parents, because everyone is not blessed to have two parents. But whomever has raised us. So we start out, and hopefully they've raised us in accordance with what God would have us. And then we go out of that loving home into that cold and different world. And hopefully we've listened to the persons in the house that we know loved us and love us. And so therefore we go out, and so we're going to meet individuals, which is another form of relationship, whether it's in the school world. And so you went to school, you had a love of a topic, finances. That's why I call it real, and that's what a lot of times people are not being. They're not being real about, hey, I had to take this field because of finance. I had to take this job because of finances. And here are the reasons why. But you did that because you had a goal. You had an aspiration. You were headed toward obtaining that master's degree because, hey, let me understand this criminal justice world. But wait a minute. Let me understand the leaders, those humans who are at the top of the system, who are having an impact on those who aspire to the criminal justice world or are affected by it. During your educational sojourn, how was your faith challenge?
I basically grew up in church all my life. I was baptized at an early age. My grandmother raised me as a child, and then when she passed away, I moved back with my mom, and she raised me on because my father was incarcerated throughout the majority of my upbringing. So my mom was also a single parent. I always knew after graduating high school I would go to college because that was all I had, and I had to get out of, I couldn't follow in my mom's footsteps of being a single parent or either, just struggling. I knew there was more for me. So that's why I applied to Alabama State. Alabama State wasn't actually my initial first college. I was looking at Tuskegee University, but I knew Alabama State. It spoke to me in a way. It felt like home, and that's why I applied, and that's where I graduated with my bachelor's from. My faith was challenged as a freshman in college when my mom, that's the first time it was challenged, when she dropped me off to college, and she didn't come back to get me until it was mandatory for me to move out of the dorms for the holidays. And she basically didn't come back to get me because she said, you followed a boy going to college, so you're on your own. She said, I'm already struggling. I've raised you all. You're 18 now. You're on your own.
Mm-hmm.
So when she came back to get me, I believe it was for summer break, I said, you know what, I have to do something. When I go back to college for the next semester, I need to have a job. So that summer, I got a job at the casino, and I also took the CNA certification program. So when I went back to Alabama, I was able to get a job along with, the other job that I had. And basically working in the healthcare field, it taught me about people, how you are to interact with people. I've seen so many people born and die, and I've kind of become numb to seeing people die because I know that there's a better life after you pass away. You're going to be with God. That's what we all should live for. So, let me see. So that was the first time my faith was tested. The second time my faith was tested was my senior year of college. I was about to graduate, and I was doing a summer internship with the Birmingham Police Department. At this time, I was working full-time at night, and I was going to school full-time as well and doing this internship. On the way coming back from my internship, I was on the interstate, and I was involved in 3 vehicles hit me. It was a hit-and-run car accident. Nobody stopped to see if I was dead or alive. My vehicle ended up on the opposite side of the interstate in the guardrail. And when I remained consciousness, I remember the fireman asking me, are you okay? And my concern was anybody injured. It wasn't about whether I was injured. And as I, went in and out of consciousness, he said, no, nobody's injured but you. We're here to help you. And I asked him, I said, well, who called you all? I didn't know where I was, so I know I couldn't have called them. And he said a Samaritan woman called. She seen the wreck, she stopped, and she came to my aid, and she called 911. I have no idea who this woman is, but I know, the 911 tape said a woman had called. And that's the second time my faith was tested. But I remember before I lost consciousness, before I ended up on the opposite side of the interstate, when the first vehicle hit me, I said, Lord, please help me. As my car began to spin in the median, I said, Lord, please help me. I cried and I called out for him. And he helped me. He was there.
Katie. Just the short communication of what you shared, which was long for you in your life, Just think about it. Relationships. Went off to college. Your mom, loving mom. And a lot of times that's what parents do. And it's funny to me, you know, as I attempt to share with the young men and young ladies, if one wants to hear, men know men and ladies know ladies. And so here's your mom, irrespective of what challenges took place in her life. She wanted to make sure that her daughter probably didn't have to go through the same, but her daughter, having her own mind, went off, and your mom made it clear about the reason why, going off some guy. And I'm sure that some dads will sit around and talk about some girl. But as you said, so you learn through the CNA about people, kind of like what God says. And a lot of times we want to act like God or Heavenly Father don't know what He's talking about, though He created it. It's the equivalency of we coming out of our mom's womb. And a lot of times I'll ask the ladies who are having problems with their child or their teenager, and I'll say, let me ask you a question. When that child of yours that came inside of you start acting up, who do you point the finger at? And they always say their dad. And then they'll come back and say, but I see me in them as well. And then you talked about, hopefully the listeners are listening. I know you are, because the listeners age range from 25 to 54, with 66% being ladies. And you guys should be listening. I know you are. But then Katie talked about another type of relationship where seeing people pass away and numbness. And I talk about that, how that, while out there visiting, whether it's been hospice and all these different places, how you can in fact become numb, depending on how you define that, until it happens in your life and it becomes real. Mm-hmm. But Katie had an experience that maybe those of you can identify with. But can you imagine, Katie, someone trying to come along and tell you what you didn't go through? So you had an experience where an accident occurred, and all of a sudden you saw, you knew a relationship. Man, there's some uncaring people. And then you learned that there was somebody that God made sure called in. And then the responders responded and let you know it wasn't about your gender. It wasn't about your race. It didn't make a difference what college you attended. It didn't make a difference what clothes you wear. It didn't make a difference what outfit you had on, what hairstyle. They made it clear they were there for you, which caused an impact on your life going forward. A relationship that was genuine. Everything has a reason. Katie, were you able to put your head knowledge into practical experience during your internships?
Right. But before I go into that one, I wanted to add on.
Go ahead. It's your program.
My relationships actually started at a very young age with my grandmother, who was taking care of me. Being that my mom and my dad would go back and forth, a fight on custody of who wanted to have the child and what have you. It was all that going on. So my grandma would always say, bring the children over here. I'm actually named after her. She would always say, bring the children over here. And I became the person that she called on for help. So being a CNA was actually taught to me probably at 8 years old. My grandma would call me, Katie, come help me do this. Come help me fasten my bra. Come help me get ready to go to church. That's where I began to go to church first, helping her get dressed for church. She was up in age, and I basically took care of her. That's where I learned how to cook, watching her cook, for everybody, watching her borrow a cup of sugar from the neighbor. That's back in the day when everybody knew their neighbors. You can rely on your neighbors for anything. So some of the things that I learned, they came from her, and my mom just added to it, as I got older, and that's how I became the woman I am today, is stuff that was taught to me at a very early age.
See, even then, you're speaking of a genuine relationship with your grandmother, and you talked about your father, who unfortunately from an incarceration standpoint. But at the same time, you remember there was a struggle going on between mom and dad, and the struggle involved a relationship pertaining to you. Were you able to put your head in the practical experience during your internships?
Yes. My internships, they allowed me to communicate with not only the police officers, they allowed me to see firsthand the problems that people have and why they have those problems. It was very rewarding because it's not like something that you see on TV. You're actually in the police department, riding around in a patrol car, and actually interacting with other people. And then you're doing it, at a low cost. You're putting your life. Anything can happen in a patrol car. You're putting your life on the line. So it was very rewarding.
And just think. Oh, go ahead. Sorry about that.
At the end of the internship, my instructors, who I'm very grateful for from Alabama State, they always required us to submit a detailed report of what we learned, throughout the internships and what we would like to see changed. But my instructors at Alabama State University, they were awesome. Like, they worked directly with the students. They made sure you understood how everything worked in the criminal justice system. Even today, I can email one of my instructors that I had previously, and he would email me right back. The constant contact that they keep with their students even after you graduate, it's amazing to me. But I noticed the difference between the instructors from Alabama State, which is a HBCU, and Faulkner University, which is not. It's very different.
I can imagine.
And that's another reason why I purposely went to Faulkner, because I wanted to get the experience from a non-HBCU. I wanted to see the difference, because I always heard that if you go to HBCU and you put that on your resume, they're not going to hire you because you went to a black university. So I said, well, let me test it out. So I ended up putting Alabama State University and Faulkner on my resumes. And I still didn't get. I got interviews some places, but it wasn't for the jobs that I knew I qualified for. But I knew it was a setup. It was God setting everything up, for me the whole time. Because he had me working as a CNA for a reason. There was some things in the healthcare field that I needed to learn that, that he needed, me to learn.
He kept, and as you know, everything's for a reason. But what's interesting in listening to you, you did your internship with law enforcement, and just think, as you so indicated, that you don't see on the news. So here you had a chance to meet the citizenry, irrespective of where it happens to be, and you met them as they were, whether they did or did not have makeup on. That included men. And you had a chance to meet them, and you had a chance to be in the listening ear to hear whatever stories they thought they were going to tell law enforcement, and a law enforcement person probably had their true records sitting right before them, and so they knew they was probably telling the truth or not the truth. But as you so indicated, you see how God set it up for you have that heart of passion and compassion on one hand, and then all of a sudden coupled with seeing the reality of life as it really is, as it relates to us humans, coupled with the fact of an accident that really woke you up, on top of having to put down both schools just to see, hey, are you going to let me in the door based upon what I know versus any other type of judgment you're trying to render on me? But finally, you had a chance to see it doesn't make a difference. God is still in control, irrespective of what the relationship entails. And whoever think they got the true power to keep you out, they do not. Listeners, we're going to return in 7 minutes from a break because tonight we have Katie Jones, a Proverbs 31 woman. You heard it right. A Proverbs 31 woman. Many men of God are and have been searching and or praying for such a woman. And I know some men like that have been doing that. How about you, ladies? Have you been praying for that man to be right in God so that he treats you the way God would have him to treat you, starting with serving God first? We'll return.
So the song says that mountains are still being moved. Strongholds are still being loosed. God, we believe, 'cause yes, we can see it, that wonders are still what you do. I love this when y'all it says, and bodies are still being raised. Giants are still being slain. God, we believe. Yes, we can see it, that wonders are still what you do. We are here for you. Come and do what you do. Say, we are here for you. Come and do what you do. Woo! We set our hearts on you. Come and do what you do. 'Cause we need a move. Woo! We need a move. Can you shout that out? We need a move. We need a move.
Welcome back to Challenges of Faith. I'm Gary McCants. Tonight's guest, Katie Jones, Proverbs 31 woman. We started off the program and listening to Proverbs 31 as King Lemuel, known to be a nickname by his loving mom, Bathsheba, Solomon's mom. We continue on in Proverbs 31, a wife of noble character who can find she is worth far more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. She selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. She's like the merchant ships bringing her food from afar. She gets up while it is still night. She provides food for her family and portions for her female servants. She considers a field and buys it out of her earnings. She plants a vineyard. Before we went to the first song, the first break, I know you was listening to the words. I'm sure you are. We're talking about men, the men I'm familiar with, out there on their knees praying. I always try to say to the men and ladies and men, 99 men or women may come your way. They may pass you by. But there's one that's meant for you, and you don't have to go through the 99 for the one. If you've gone before the throne of grace and mercy, God knows who you need in your life. He knows your heart. He created them as well. He knows who's genuine and who's not. I also like to thank the listeners that have joined us from Norway, the UK, Canada, Jamaica, Switzerland, Israel, India, Australia, Vietnam, Germany, Egypt, Trinidad. Thank you for tuning in to hear Katie Jones. We left off where Katie was sharing her sojourn up to this point, all about relationships. And what was interesting is after the accident, she even indicated after the internships, the individuals, irrespective of gender and race and age and all of that, stayed in touch. A relationship that's real for her life. Katie, during your internships with the police departments, what challenged your faith?
My faith was basically challenged because I was trying to make sure I had everything together and all my prerequisites and everything completed for graduation that fall. So I left a summer internship and I started the internship with Auburn Police Department in the fall of 2012. And I basically decided to do an internship with Auburn Police Department because I wanted to understand the differences between the cities. Auburn is mostly it's a college town. You know, most of the crime that's going to be committed is going to be by college students. And then the crime in Birmingham, which was a bigger city, they mostly had crime from impoverished neighborhoods. You have gang activity, going on. It was a difference in the type of crime that happened. But the thing they shared in common was people. No matter what type of background you come from, you still have to treat people like people, So that's where my faith was really, really challenged, being able to adjust and understand everybody from whatever level they were on.
So think about it. A relationship. So if you go back in the sojourn of home, a lot of times is where we have to start while moving forward. So you can identify with where your mom was looking out for you because only she knew what her experiences had been when she was your age at that time, and then her mom. And then it goes the same as it relates to your father. But what was interesting, you'll be doing the same thing with your daughter because you don't want that heartache and headache if you can avoid it for her. But Only she knows whether she's going to listen to you or not. But one of the things you have said, a relationship, because you were trying to understand from where you've come from. Now you have that head knowledge, that practical knowledge, the experience that a lot of people may not have for whatever the reasons are. And you were simply trying to understand, oh, wait a minute. What is the difference between these two cities and the crime and the causative factors? And then that's where the real world that the Word of God talks about is now starting to come home to you. And again, as you know, now you're starting to have that knowledge. Now you're starting to process that knowledge. Not the knowledge that other people are trying to tell you that you know isn't real. Knowledge that even the news media may be trying to tell you that you know isn't real. So now you got that factual knowledge. Now you got to do something with it. You can become negative, bitter, or you can ask God as a believer of a household of faith, oh God, you've allowed me to go through this for what reason? For me to hold on? For me to try to share it with somebody? Probably not knowing that most of the people, depending, may not want to hear what you got to say because they may think they may know more than you. But Katie, you've also been a guardian ad litem. What is that, and why do you have the continual desire to be of help to the helpless, the hurting, and the hopeless?
I first became a guardian ad litem, which is it's a court-appointed special advocate in Louisiana when I lived there. I became interested in it when I attended a fundraiser that one of the New Orleans Saints players was holding at a Buffalo Wild Wings. And you basically advocate for children in foster care or who are abused and neglected and who have been removed out of the home and are now in the family court system. So being a child myself, you know, I wasn't abused as a child, but my dad wasn't really present. So my weekends and holidays were mostly spent in the prison lobby visiting my father. So I said, well, what better way to give back than this? So I became a volunteer. And then when I moved to South Carolina, I picked up the Guardian Ad Litem program there. And I basically continued to be a help to the community. They didn't like when I moved. I had moved again, and they were sad to see me go. But I then became a mentor with the Volunteers of America Greater New Orleans Children of Promise program. And that program basically catered to children whose parents are incarcerated. And I basically was more like a big sister to my mentee. I would take her out to eat and to the movies, and I was somebody that she can confide in, you know, if she had any issues at school or any questions that she didn't feel comfortable with asking her grandparents, she was always able to ask me. So I've always had a heart to help people because it gave me what I didn't get. The support that I didn't get, I found it in helping other people. Everywhere that I've lived, I've always made it my mission to help somebody. If it's one person, I had to help somebody. When I lived in South Carolina for the 4th of July, I was alone, so I decided to throw a barbecue at the children's orphanage, and I basically wanted other people to know you are not forgotten. You know, somebody cares. If it's only one person, they care. For Thanksgiving, I was also alone, so I made care packages for the people in the nursing home. A lot of people don't know, usually around the holidays, people who are in the hospital and the nursing homes, they don't usually always have family or can't go home, you know, due to whatever health issues they have that they can't go home. They're usually alone. So I was just basically there to show them, hey, somebody does care, you know.
Listeners, you're hearing the heart of compassion. What's interesting, here God used a Samaritan woman to pick up the phone on behalf of Katie, and now he's continuously using another Samaritan woman, Katie Jones. Proverbs 31:17 says, she sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her task. She sees that her trading is profitable and her lamp does not go out at night. In her hand she holds the distaff and grasps the spindle with her fingers. She opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. When it snows, she has no fear for her household, for all of them are clothed in scarlet. She makes coverings for her bed. She's clothed in fine linen and purple. Her husband is respected at the city gate, where he takes his seat among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them and supplies the merchants with sashes. Listeners, before we head into talking about the topic that I know you all have been waiting for, yes, we're going to take another song break, but before we do, Katie says the process is God's way of setting you up for a miracle. Because if he would have done it any sooner, your enemies, family members, critics, doubters, co-workers, and haters would have thought it was you. That's why he closed those doors in your life. Sometimes God will wait until everybody around you will put their foot on your neck and decide that you would never give up. He may not come when you want him, but he's right on time. Katie Jones, the Proverbs 31 woman. You see, men, that's what you've been looking for. Somebody is not going to tell you what you want to hear. Somebody is not going to try to put that needle in you and try to take away from you. And I always try to tell the ladies, if they want to hear, that man that happened to be in your life, when you meet men and you don't know what they've gone through, and you really believe they're telling you everything from the inside, men aren't like that. Ladies may be. But that male, if he says to you, hey, I want to share something with you, and it's private, he really means that. He doesn't mean for you to go and tell everybody's mama. A lot of times men, irrespective of their race, their gender, but we're talking about men, their community, their zip code, irrespective of how much money they make and their titles, that male, once he learned, that's a part of trust in a relationship. And you might wonder why they may not interact with you. And I always say to the men, ladies, they share. And a lot of times they're sharing, and a lot of times, let me tell you something, from a health standpoint, you might want to get some of that from inside of you out so that you don't have all those health issues, men, at the same time. But again, we're talking about a topic, a Proverbs 31 woman that's needed today, just like that man who's real before God. That lady want to make sure that before she lets down her guard, without that man understanding what she's been through, and while her trying to play the victim role, depending on what you define the victim role to be, because men do it as well. But you want to take a moment and try to understand. There are two individuals, male and a female, female and a male. They came together and both of them got married. After they were married, one person said, hey, listen, remember when we were married, before we got married, and we agreed that I was going to quit work? And the other person said, yeah, I remember. Well, afterwards, there was tension in the relationship. And until they both sat down and openly communicated, that's when they learned that one party said, listen, I agreed to quit work for good. The other person said, well, I wasn't talking about for good. I was just talking about for the moment. They were saying the same thing, but meant something altogether different. And when you want to understand what both are saying, remove everybody else from the picture. Get on your knees, ask God. He's the one that brought you together. Did he? And if he did, you're asking him to help in that relationship. Katie Jones, a Proverbs 31 woman. When we return, we're going to finally continue getting into the meat of it all. But you needed to know her foundation.
Show me your face, fill up this space. My world needs you right now. My world needs you right now. I can't escape being afraid. Fill me with you. My world needs you right now. Show me your face, fill up this space. My world needs you right now. My world needs you right now. I can't escape being afraid. Bring with it a sound that points us to you right now. Erase substitutes right now. Fix what I see. And God, please fix me. My world needs you right now. Let us see you. To you right now, erase substitutes right now. Fix what I see, and God please fix me. And God please fix me. My world needs you right now. Let us see you right now. Every heart in the world, God needs you to rescue. Storm has come and torn our hearts in two. We need you. Show me your face, fill up this space. The world needs my world needs you right now. My world needs you right now. Storms may come, but when we call your name, all things change. Kingdoms fall, needs you right now. My world needs you right now.
She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but the woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Honor her for all that her hands have done, and let her works bring her praise at the city gate. You know, I shared a story about a man, and that's why it's important. Relationships are interesting. But the story is about a man, could be a woman, but it's about a man. This man had said to this lady, and ladies, as I share this, only you know what you're thinking on the inside, and guys, as you hear me share this, only you know if it was you. But this guy tells his lady, he said, listen, I love you. And only she knew how she felt when he said that. Only she knew if any other guy had ever said that to her. And if she was in any other previous relationship and it did not go well, and that person happened to be her first love, the memories are there. But he said, I love you so much that I would climb the highest mountain just for you. Now, you got to keep this in mind. His lady has some female friends, and they were doubters. And ladies, maybe that's who you have around you, some doubters. But there was one of those female friends that said to herself, wow, I like that. So the guy says, I love you so much, I would climb the highest mountain just for you. Well, you got to remember now, those doubters said, does he really? And she responded back to her friends, yes, because he's afraid of heights. He then says to her, I love you so much that I would swim the deepest oceans just for you. Now, her girlfriends, of course, was like, really? And that one friend was like, I really like that. But she responded back to her girlfriends, yes, I do believe him, because he's afraid of water. He then says, listen, I love you so much. I'm going to come and see you on Wednesday if it doesn't rain. Now, only the girlfriends, if they were truly friends, they're probably going to say, I told you so. Only she knew how she felt on the inside. And that one girlfriend who didn't reveal that she was liking what he said. Guys, you got to remember, what's your motive? What's your motive for seeking that genuine woman? And I say the same things to ladies. What is your motive? But tonight, we have Katie Jones. We're talking about a topic that men have searched and prayed about, which is finding a Proverbs 31 woman. Katie, from a biblical perspective, what is a Proverbs 31 woman?
I believe a Proverbs 31 woman has a heart after God. I believe if a woman doesn't have her heart after God first, she can't give herself to you fully at all anyway. I believe a Proverbs 31 woman is confident. She works by serving others and sharing the gospel. She cooks, she cleans, and she builds her house. She believes in owning land and real estate. She's intimate with God first and then her husband. If a woman, if she doesn't have that intimate relationship with God, she's going to be that woman that complains when you ask her for sex. She's going to make up excuses, or I don't feel good, or I don't want to do it. It's going to be a selfish type thing. So if you don't see a woman that, invites you to church or gets up and pray, then that should be a sign right there. She shouldn't be the one for you. But likewise, the man should also have that same heart after God first, because you basically are what you attract. She helps the poor. She knows the joy of the Lord is her strength. She submits, she respects, and she honors her husband. She honors the family name and reputation in public and in private. She doesn't talk down on her husband, but she'll uplift him. Her husband can confide in her without her telling his business or secrets out of anger. I noticed that a lot with men. I used to have a lot of male friends that were married because they felt I was their safe place to tell the stuff they couldn't tell their wives. And a lot of women don't understand that. When a man doesn't feel like you're a safe place, he'll shut down. He won't tell you anything. A Proverbs 31 woman, she speaks words of wisdom, and she doesn't use her tongue to speak down on anyone. She always believes in uplifting and speaking the truth. She makes sure her household runs smoothly. I believe when a man goes out into the world, he should be able to come back home, and that should be his paradise. You're going to have some good days and you're going to have some bad days, but as long as you can come back together, and keep moving forward, that's because your marriage is basically your ministry. And she takes care of the children, and she fears God. When she takes care of her children, she doesn't complain, oh, I'm always doing this, I'm always the one taking the kids this place, you're never doing this and that. She just goes ahead, and she humbles herself, and she does her part. A lot of people don't understand, when you do your part, God will put that other person, he'll correct that other person's behavior in his time. Sometimes God allows us to go through different situations so he can get our attention. Just like we thirst for things, he thirsts for our attention. So it's a reciprocity thing.
Katie, you had shared something out of the word, and a lot of times people, when they hear that word submit, may not understand that it's called surrender. In any genuine relationship, there's a surrender, whether it's in a romantic relationship, out there in the community world, the place of worship, the political world. Someone has to surrender voluntarily in order to accomplish the objective. But as you so are sharing, when it comes to God and his will and his purposes, that's a higher purpose. And for men to understand that there's a role, a higher role. I share the story sometimes, and I know our sister Deborah is listening, and I shared the story where, she was over a Florida boys and girls club as an area director, and her husband was over in the state of a civil rights organization. And I happened to be present, and Deborah was presenting a message, and I was blessed to be the next speaker. And but in between time, God allowed me to be present when a phone call took place by Deborah's husband, and he called her, and she was able to move off the stage and take the call and give him some instruction. I was laughing, and he was wanting to know why I was laughing. And I said to him out of respect, notice that word. He had a nice outfit on, and that people would love to have seen, and all of that. And I said, but you have your own club. And he was like, what are you talking about? I said, you're the president of the Honeydew Club. He said, what do you mean? I said, man, your wife just called you and told you, honey, do this and honey, do that, and do it. Take away that pride and do it. And that's what men should be doing. Quit worrying about what other people are thinking and saying and doing. And just be that man for that woman in your life that God has called to be there. You prayed for her. What are we missing? But Katie, why do you strive daily to be that woman?
I always thought I knew what I wanted. Throughout college, going to college, when you go to college, it's a different atmosphere. You learn all about different people from different cities, countries. So I always thought I knew what I wanted. I always said I wanted a friend, then a boyfriend, and then eventually marriage, if God said the same. But as the years went on, I couldn't find that. I take marriage very seriously, so that was not something that I always honed upon, like I got to be married. That was not on my docket. Being a mom, that wasn't on my docket either because, like I said, we don't really know what we want. I don't care what nobody says. You don't know what you want. Only God knows what you want and what you really need. So, I take marriage seriously because I always thought that that's God's gift to you. Your husband or wife that he blesses you with, that is his gift to you because it's him wrapped up in flesh. He's basically saying, I'm giving you me in the flesh. So I tried online dating. I tried the different dating apps, and I noticed that everybody was the same or either crazy. So I just kept coming up with the same answers every time. So throughout the years, I just started to research and start to study people. I would go on dates and I would just study how they interact with me. And I knew what I like and how I like to be treated, but I was settling because I thought as the years went on, I thought I would be alone forever. So, and I was always good at research because going to college, they required that of us. So, like I said before, when you keep doing the same thing over and over again, it's insanity. And if you're changing all these different men, but the same thing that remains the same as you, then the problem is with you. And the problem was with me. I was settling for less when God had his best set aside for me the whole time. I strive every day to be a Proverbs 31 woman because I got tired of doing doing things my own way and not being good enough or accepted by different men. I was never the woman anyone wanted for anything other than sex. I was always the woman that they would get sex from, and then later on they hop into a relationship or get married, and then they'll hit me up in the new generation call it DMs, but they would send me a message, oh, Katie, how are you? They would try to continue conversation with me, but I was never the woman that they wanted to be in a relationship with. So after going through that saga with the men, I said, I cried out one night, and I said, Lord, I surrender to you. If I have to be a single parent and be alone for the rest of my life, I'm fine with that. If it's just me and you, I'm fine with that because I can't keep doing this. If it's not, if nobody wanted to be in a relationship with me, basically. So as soon as I surrendered, he revealed to me in a dream who my husband was. And it was totally something that I was like, well, why would he want me? Me of all people. I'm not, the type of woman that this person would attract. because I seen the other women that he was with, and I said, I'm not like that. He's not going to want me. But as I did further research, I noticed that I had similarities with his mom. So I said, okay, God, you revealed this to me, and God is not a man that he shall lie. So I said, it is what it is. This is my husband. I'm taking myself off the market. And that's what I did. So I think a lot of people need to understand, once God reveals something to you, it's up to you to accept it and be willing to go through the process. A lot of people say, oh, well, I didn't get my promise until 3 or 5 years later. It all depends on how soon you take heed. If that's how long it takes you to do what God said, then that's how long it is. So I immediately changed. I said, okay, God, I'm all surrender. Whatever you want, I'll do. And that's what changed me. I had surrendered all of my fleshly ways, and I said, Lord, I surrender to you. And with me, sex was the thing I had to sacrifice. I said I will be celibate until I'm married, because that was something that I didn't do. You know, before I lost my virginity, I had always said I want to wait till I'm married. I lost my virginity at 19. I always said I want to wait till I'm married to give that away to my husband, but I didn't do that. So I said, well, God, I'm giving you this, and I'm not having sex until I'm married to the man that you want me married with. So that was a total surrender for me. It's not easy, but whatever God says you do, you be obedient.
I'm reminded as I hear of a story where it was a lady. It could be a guy, but it happens to be a lady. And she prayed, and she asked God to send me that man that I need in my life. And each day she would go out by a pond of water and a tree, and she would pray. And each day it really became prayerful, tears and everything. And so one day she went out to pray. Oh God, oh God, oh God, please send me that man. And there was an owl, O-W-L, sitting in a tree nearby, listening. And the owl cried out, who? And she said, anybody. Just send me anybody. And so what you have shared, there are a lot of men and women and men, irrespective of where they happen to be globally, that in the quietness of their heart, they know that's what they're doing. But a believer in the right relationship with God, irrespective of the realities of life and these trials, as relates to relationships, as relates to being that person, that woman, that man that God has called you to be for such a time as this, in the midst of all this confusion, with knowing that God is not the author of confusion. That's why it's important, as you have so shared, for your life. That's what's important, because at the end of the day, you'll have to stand before God and give an account, and we can't use the excuse, oh, my friend, my family, my whoever told me I should do this. And so you made that decision for your life. And that's what it was important for. When you speak of having the favor of God, what do you mean?
I believe the woman is the favor agent. There is something about when a woman cries out to her daddy, which is God, it does something to him. It initiates an immediate response, immediate reaction. It's like when you hear a baby crying. Your immediate reaction is to get up and see what's wrong with that baby. And that's how God's relationship is with his daughters. That's why I don't know the name of the scripture, but I know there's a scripture that speaks of the wailing women, send for the wailing women. It's something about when a woman cries, it does something to his heart, like he has to answer. So a woman who walks in God's favor is preferred by God because she trusts solely in him with all of her being. God is her source. You know, he knows the road that she takes. He orders her steps. He speaks to her spirit. He is her source, and without him, she is nothing. When a woman has been tried through the winds, storms, and fires of life, she is still standing because she basically has been proven. And I learned that in my own life. I've been through so much stuff, but I'm sitting here today doing this interview because by the grace of God, out of everything I've been through, he's going to get the victory out of my situation, out of my life, you know. And I believe that God allowed me to go through everything I've been through for other people to see. You know, we are the living examples in the earth, you know, that other people need to see, that God is real and he does exist, and we are not forgotten. He's with us every day.
As a loving father, you know, it's been said how that, you know, dads and daughters, moms and sons, and I remember you were sharing earlier how another impact of your life as relates to your human father, you found yourself while visiting, having that heart for others who found themselves in the same position and like-minded, irrespective of the reasons, but a relationship, somewhere where a relationship from inside the person had broken down, affecting many. And at the same time as you so are sharing how the renewed relationship that you have with our Heavenly Father, and because you took a moment to want to change, not wanting anybody to change you, because it takes you to change you from the inside. But you also recognize that you didn't need the help of a man, you need the help of God, so that whomever he allowed to come into your life, that y'all two could become one in him, with God being at the forefront. Katie, as a genuine woman of God, who is simply trying to be real before God, yourself, and others, what relational advice do you have for women of God and then for men of God?
Well, to piggyback off of what you just said first, I had to step back and stop doing things my way, because what I was doing was attracting men of affluence who had money. And I'm the type of person, I came from nothing, so money is nothing to me. But these men would feel that they were entitled if they gave me money, and I'm like, I don't want your money. I'm after your heart, but they didn't want to give me their heart. They wanted to give me their money. And that's why I said you have to be after God's own heart first before you can be after anybody else's heart. I was after these men's heart, but I was putting God on the back burner. When they broke my heart, then I went crying to God, like any child would do their parent when they get hurt or burned on the stove. So I think people have to understand that you have to keep God first and at the center of everything, or it's not going to work. So my advice to single women is to get so lost in God by studying and meditating on his word day and night. Only God knows what we want and what we really need, because he created us in his likeness and in his image. He knows the intents of our heart. He knows, if you have strong feelings for somebody and if that man's not good for you. God knows your heart, and he knows that man's heart you're after. If you desire a husband, be willing to crucify your flesh, because God will not send you a Boaz until you have completed the process of becoming. The process of becoming is basically getting rid of insecurities, healing from your past hurts, letting go of bitterness and hatred. A woman must not be thirsty and desperate, seeking attention from men to feel important. A lot of women in my generation now, they go to Instagram and they're exposing their body and trying to get all these men. And what they fail to realize, these men, they look at you, oh, you look good, they want sex from you, and then they move along to the next woman. So that's why it's not good to be thirsty. And when you find yourself being thirsty and seeking attention from man, that's your sign that God wants your attention. You should be seeking him. A woman must not also use her body or sex to get what she wants from a man. A woman should submit her body as a living sacrifice to God. Most women do this by becoming celibate until they become married. In this process, you cannot do your own thing because it will delay the time you'll receive your promise. The husband God has for you is already prepared and set aside for you. God is waiting on you. A lot of people think, they're waiting on God. I've been praying, but God's not answering my prayers. It's not that God is not answering your prayers. You have to totally surrender your will. You can't do your own thing and do God and, read his word too. It's going to be one or the other. And God is not going to, let you do both. Lastly, for the women, all of your focus must be on God. God's word, it says, he who finds a wife, when a man finds you, you're already a wife. You've already been proven. You've already went through the process. A man cannot find his wife if you haven't gone through that process. That's why you see a lot of people, they get married and then they end up divorced within 2 years because they thought that lady was their wife and she wasn't their wife. For the men, to the single men, if you want a good, wholesome woman, you must be whole as an individual yourself. I knew a man who was straddling the fence right before I surrendered. This man, he was all into church. But the problem I noticed with him was Monday through Saturday, he wanted to be a sinner. He wanted to just have sex, do him Monday through Saturday. But Sunday, he wanted to be in church. You can't live the worldly life and then try to do the godly thing on Sunday. It doesn't work like that. You have to walk with God and live the godly life, the God-conscious life every day of your life. So a lot of people fail to realize that you simply are what you attract. And when I attracted this guy, I kept telling him that he was confused when it was me. I was confused because I'm like, something wrong with me if I attracted you. So if you keep attracting women who expose their bodies online, they're thirsting for attention. So most likely you're seeking attention too from these women. If you are attracting this type of woman, then you are trying to feed your flesh, which means you are also thirsty. You must be functioning in your occupation first and fulfilling your purpose that God has for you. And then he will send you a helpmeet. If you're not busy fulfilling his will and purpose, then you don't need help doing anything. A man who is ready for marriage would have put away his childish ways and have totally surrendered to God. In order for a man to find his rib, he must know and date himself first. A man who knows what he wants will not settle until he finds a woman who will complement him and who is not a liability. If a man or woman feels like they cannot live without being married, then they don't need to be married because they are thirsty. God is the living water, and you must be a whole individual before you get married and become a pair. And that's my advice to the single ladies and the single men.
That's sound advice. Listeners, I write about the 99 different men and women and men, who display these characteristics that Katie is talking about. And Katie will be joining us in the future to discuss these men and ladies and men, because what she is sharing is, whether it's the male or the female or the male, if you have not gone before the throne of grace and mercy, taking a walk around yourself first rather than everybody else, and surrendering to God, allowing him to be first in your life since he created you and he knows you, and then allowing God to direct your steps, knowing that you're going to meet individuals irrespective of who they are. He created them as well. He knows their motives. He knows our motives. So that therefore, as Katie has said, so if you know if you've been wounded in this area, now you've gone out and met the same type of person, maybe not the same person, but you see the same characteristics coming from that person, but yet you've surrendered, you've let down your guard. Now you've been wounded again, male, lady, male. At a point in time, you'll have to look at you rather than keep pointing the fingers at everyone else. Katie, how can the listeners contact you for interviews and or motivational speeches?
I have a LinkedIn profile that basically started it all for me. When everything started on LinkedIn because I couldn't find a job. So I went to LinkedIn to try to network with other people. And after not being accepted into school this year, I decided that, okay, use this profile to do God's, will. Do what he called you to do. Use your platform. So this became my platform for now. And my LinkedIn name is Katie Jones, and I can be reached through LinkedIn if anyone has any questions or want to do an interview with them or want me to do a speech.
Mm-hmm. Well, as you know, as you maintain faithfulness to God, he honors that. A lot of people, if they didn't hear you in the beginning, and I hope that those who will hear you later or replay, what's interesting is that, there's a lot of individuals out there who are employers. And as I have said so often, the listeners for this program happens to be business owners and executive directors of profit and nonprofit organizations and HR specialists, all of those titles. But what I am trying to say clearly is that there are a lot of individuals who really don't understand that when it comes to a child of God, whatever door God wants that child of God in, that person who's at the top who really think they can keep that child of God out, they can't. And a child of God has to also understand that there are some doors they're not supposed to go in, even though it may look nice, because there's some heartache and pain that may be right around the corner. Katie, what final words do you have for the listeners?
My final words would be, in order to be prosperous and successful at anything, seek God first in everything that you do and study and meditate on his word day and night. The more you become versed in God's word, the stronger your faith walk with him will become. Talk to God in secret and like you're talking to your best friend. Talk to yourself also, because the Holy Spirit speaks through your thoughts. This is why it's important to prune your circle often. When I mean pruning your circle, prune your friends and sometimes family members too. When you have too many people in your ear giving you advice and it's conflicting with what God's telling you, it becomes a big mess. So sometimes, you have to get all those people out your ear so you can hear God, because he has a still small voice. And he's not going to scream over all those people. It's up to you to remove all of those different distractions so you can hear his voice. Sometimes God won't reveal things to you until he gets you all alone to himself. He is the only voice that you really need to hear in your ears. There are some Bible apps, devotionals, and YouTube videos that will make this process more attainable. I am a member of Bishop T.D. Jakes' The Potter's House in Dallas, Texas. I'm an e-member. I basically started following Bishop T.D. Jakes because of his beginnings, of where he came from. I was able to relate to where he came from and to how he became the man of God that he is today. He basically let God use him. He took the little that he did have, and he gave it to God, and look how God multiplied it, for God's glory and God's will. Bishop T.D. Jakes, he's not ashamed of his story or the gospel. That's how I was able to relate to him. He shares the word with the world in a way that people can relate to. You know, he steps down just like Jesus, you know, stepped down the earth. So, you know, he can understand the issues that we're going through. That's the same thing as Bishop T.D. Jakes. He speaks to his congregation in a way that they can understand and relate to. I believe everyone has a story, but some people get stuck in depression and want to commit suicide and things like that because they become so consumed with the issues of life because they have no examples to look at. They don't know how to get through these different situations and how to overcome adversities. I believe a relationship and intimacy with God is more about living on purpose and being intentional. And in return, God will draw near to you. It's all about reciprocity. Give, and it shall be given unto you.
Well, listeners, you've heard it from Katie Jones. She's sharing how that, and through her final words, how that for her life, her pastor that she listens to takes the messages from the top shelf and bring it down so that it's clear for his congregation. Katie, thank you for appearing on Challenges of Faith. May our loving God continue to richly bless you in all you do and have done with everyone. And come on anytime you so desire.
Thank you for having me on the interview. I really appreciate this opportunity. I really feel that a lot of people can use this message. You know, it speaks to a lot of issues that a lot of people are going through that most of the time the church shies away from. So I'm glad you provided me with the opportunity to share with God's people tonight. And I thank you.
You're welcome, my sister. Listeners, we'll return with the final.
Change me, oh God. Make me more like you. Change me, oh God. Wash me through and through. Create in me a clean worship you. Change me, oh God. Make me more like you. Change me, oh God. Watch me through and through. Just create in me a clean heart, so that I may worship you. Something about you. Change me. Whatever's not like you, Lord, I want you to change me. Do it for me, Lord. I dare you to just put your hands on yourself. Lord, like you mean it. Change me. Whatever's not like you, Lord, I want you to, from the inside out, Lord. Oh, a little change. I need you to change me. Or you can say, change me. Remember this? Has come over me.
Well, you heard it from Katie Jones, a Proverbs 31 woman. And if you have not read it before, take a moment in your life and turn to the book of Proverbs. Read the total book and the total chapter for your life. Know what it says. Go before the throne of grace and mercy and ask God. Let him know what's on your heart and mind, who you're looking for. Remember, the person that you're looking for, he may be getting ready to come into your life, or she may. But you know, that person has to be prepared by God. You don't want to meet them now. They got all that baggage. You don't want them to bring all that baggage into the relationship. You want to make sure they receive that needed healing from inside. And at the same time, have you been healed from the inside out? So that now when you get on your knees and get up, you truly see clearly about the whole picture, what it's really about as relates to your daily life, your future life, and when he calls your name. Lord willing, next Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, join us, Christian Riley, freelance fashion designer, New York City. Powerful Sojourn, you talking about having some health issues. all of a sudden needing surgery. And then God came right on time, apart from the human doctors, allowing Christian to be in the position to change lives, especially in the fashion industry. Thank you for joining Challenges of Faith. I'm Gary McCann.